Good morning, multipliers, and welcome to Multiply Mornings, the voice of the modern young Christian movement, or something like that. So today we're talking about the elections coming up. It's been crazy to see all these people, all the backlash of the political movement going on, basically. So if you've been asleep under a rock for like the last 2 years, let me bring you up to speed. So basically what's been going on is we have two main candidates left out of like the 1,400 Republican candidates that started out and the several Democratic candidates. So we have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. These are two of the most polarizing figures I think I've ever seen. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He's a loud businessman who says some stuff that's not always politically correct and whatnot. And then you have Hillary Clinton, who is kind of your more liberal of people. She is very polarizing in her own right. She's obviously had the issues with the Benghazi attacks, the emails, all the stuff that's been going on there. And then you have Donald Trump as just Donald Trump. You know, here's the thing. So I'm looking at what's going on. I'm trying to think about what are we as Christians supposed to do? You hear a lot of different ideas about it. Some people say we should just not vote. Don't do it. They're both weird and not good and no. And I get that. I really do. I get that assessment. I get that understanding of saying, like, I don't want to vote for either of these. But what do we do as Christians? So as Christians, we're kind of put in this position as to where we have to make the decision. We have to choose, what are we going to do? Where do we fall in this thing? Because neither candidate aligns with a Christian worldview. They just don't. They both have all their own ideas, beliefs, and everything else. And so what do we do? It's exhausting. Not only that, keeping up with the rhetoric. I mean, Facebook is two things right now. Pokemon Go, which we talked about yesterday, and this election. That's what we're finding ourselves in, and it's so polarizing. So many people just can't stand Trump, or they can't stand Hillary. And so what do we do? First off, let me just say, I'm not going to tell you how to vote today. That's up to your decision. But I think as a Christian, there's a clear choice. But I think what we have to look at here is this. There's a situation that we're in, and that's that this election is one of the most important elections in recent memory. Because this next president's going to place, I think it's like 3 justices. So this is literally going to dictate the future, not just for the 8 years, the 4 years, the president, possibly 8 years, but onward for years and years and years to come. So what do we do? See, we're faced with this challenge between this of being, do I accept what's going on and just not vote and say, well, I wash my hands of the situations, or as Christians, do we stand up? Well, first off, let me bring you to a verse in the Bible. This is found in Romans chapter 13, verse 1. It says, let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for therefore there is no authority except from God, and those who have been instituted by God. So what we as Christians need to do is realize God is in control of the situation. He's not surprised. So many of us act like this is something mind-bogglingly crazy to us. Like, how can we be in this situation? How is this happening? God is not surprised. He's not. He has known what's coming for a while. He's been preparing us, and it's something for his plan. So as Christians, we need to find that comfort in this, because we need to make a decision, and we don't need to just abstain from the election. So many people are like, well, I'm just not going to vote, or they're saying, I'm going to vote for a third-party candidate. But let me tell you this. Think of whichever candidate you least would want to see in the presidency, right? Whether that be Trump or Hillary. Now, if you say to yourself, I don't want to see them, but I don't want to see let's just say, for the sake of argument, you don't like Hillary and you really don't like Trump either, but you like Hillary a little bit less. So you're sitting here, you're like, I don't like either of them, but if I had to choose, Hillary would be the least amount one I want to have. Okay, so that's fine. So basically what you're doing by not voting for the one of this candidate is you're voting for a third-party candidate. You're basically making a vote in for Yahoo over here, because that's one vote you've taken away from over here, from the lesser of the two evils, for a person who's absolutely not going to win. That's kind of where we find ourselves at in the situation. I understand the polars we're in. I understand that neither of these candidates are good. Neither of them who I would have chosen, for sure. But what we find ourselves in is we have to realize God's not surprised, and we need to vote with who closest aligns with the Christian worldview. Because here's the thing, that we need to realize how important this is. We need to realize the core fundamentals of what makes America great, honestly. And through all this insanity, I mean, right now the Republican convention is going on, and there's talks of people trying to put not a coup for lack of a better term, but trying to oust Donald Trump as the candidate. There's all this stuff going on, but guys, here's the thing. It's what it is. And to do any more is just going to further divide the country. So what do we do in this situation? Well, I tell you, I don't really have a great answer. This is more just to spark a conversation. I know this conversation could get heated. It could get uncomfortable at times. But here's the thing, guys. We are called to be people who sit down and we follow not emotions, because it's so easy to get caught up in emotion. It's like people think to themselves when they make these votes, they leave God out of the equation. But that's not how Christianity works. That's not how how relationship works with Christ. He's in every aspect of who we are. It's like if you're sitting there and you're trying to cast your vote and you're looking at this and you're looking at this piece of paper and you're like, oh, okay, I'm seeing here, I'm looking at the facts, and then God walks over and you're just like hiding it from him. You're like, dude, go away. And it's like he already sees it. God, nothing is hidden from God. We already look here in Romans and see that God has placed them where they are, that God has set them in authority. So God understands what's coming before we do. So the fact that of hiding this from him or trying not to include him in our decision making is totally foolish. What do we do in this situation? Once again, I bring it back to this. Put God in the equation. Look at what's happening. Look at the candidates in front of us and ask yourself the question, which one closely aligns with God? Because if we don't do that, we truly are hopeless. Without God, there is no hope in this world. So the idea that we would sit here and just cast it off willy-nilly like it doesn't matter, it's foolishness. The idea of not voting because we don't like the candidates, once again, not the decision to make here. We need to become, Christians need to be outspoken for Christian morals. Don't take him out of the equation. Put him squarely in the equation, because without him, there is no hope. So if we want to see America become great again, or to have hope and change brought to our nation, then the reality is we need to come back to the roots. We need to come back to what made us special in the beginning. And that's going to be related with Christ. Now you might say, neither of these people do that. And I would agree with that statement. But which one closely comes to it? Which one's giving us the chance of having the most like that? And if we don't have that, we really are hopeless. That's my challenge today. Stop accepting the status quo, what people tell you. People are going to give you a ton of answers, a ton of reasons why to and not to vote for everybody. You have to make your own decision. Read it against the Bible. Read it against the facts. Read it against what God says. And make a decision from there. Neither of these candidates are perfect. Far from it. But they're what we've got. So as Christians, do we just let go and accept our fate to be a dying nation and accept ideals that are so counter to God? Or do we try to choose the lesser of the two evils? Which I understand sounds like, why would I choose evil at all? I get that. But it's one or the other. And right now, Christians need to stand up and make our voice heard to do something that can institute real change. So where are we at? What are we going to do? That's the choice. You know, I think it's gotten so far off base with people on this that we've lost reality, which is so easy to do in politics. But the reality is, this is it. This is one of the most fundamentally important presidential elections in recent history. We must make a decision as Christians to stand strong and to be the difference maker. Not to be people stand by. The church in recent history has become such a ineffective thing because Christians have tried to separate it. Though church and state, guess what? That's not in the Constitution. I don't care who you are, what you say, there is no separation of church and state. It doesn't exist. It was first mentioned by Thomas Jefferson as a reference to say that the state should not be involved in the church, not the church and the state. So to say that's not true. Second off, as Christians, God is called to be in every aspect of our life, just as a recap here. So if he's not involved with it, what are we doing? And you may be saying to yourself, good question, what are we doing? Well, let's make a difference. That's all we got. That's the only choice. That is the only thing we can do, is make a difference. So let me know, guys, what you think about all this. Are you gonna vote? I don't want to get into a huge debate about who I'm voting for, how this guy. I don't necessarily, that's not necessarily the point here. The point is to get us thinking, talking, asking the questions about what is fundamentally important as a Christian worldview. Because if Christians don't make those decisions, we're hopeless. We are truly hopeless without God. So I hope you guys are encouraged by this. Comment down below what you think. Please keep it civil. Keep cursing everything else out of it you can. Let's just have an honest discussion about what's going on in the world, an honest discussion about the state of Christianity in the world, about these candidates and how they fall within the moral context of a Christian and what God has guided us to do. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. Let's just keep it civil and have fun with it, all right? I thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like it, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to hit more, hit that subscribe button. And once again, I thank you so much for checking this out. I appreciate it. God bless. I'm Dan, and we'll see you next time.